In late 2025, an interesting little ranking made its way around business media focusing on a certain metric: revenue per employee. And right at the top wasn't Nvidia, nor was it Apple. It was OnlyFans, estimated at over $30 million in revenue per employee. Now, before you get too excited, this isn't Coin Bureau Finance After Dark. No. Today, we're digging into the economics of OnlyFans to show you why it's one of the craziest business stories of all time. Now, even if you ignore the graphic we just looked at and run the numbers based on the latest published accounts, the story is still unreal. For the year ending 30th of November 2024, OnlyFans' parent company reported net revenue of $1.41 billion, pre-tax profit of $684 million, and only 46 employees on the books. So that's almost $31 million of net revenue per employee. Now, it's worth focusing on that net revenue detail for a moment because it's not just a huge number, it's the platform's actual slice. OnlyFans isn't booking the full value of what fans spend as its own revenue. It's taking a cut for running the platform, moving the money, and making the whole operation compliant enough to keep things going. You can think of the business model as a kind of virtual toll booth. Creators provide the content, fans pay the money, and the company keeps its direct payroll tiny while charging a fixed 20% cut. Most of OnlyFans might center around sexual content, but there's nothing particularly sexy about how the platform directs that 20% cut: hosting, support, payment processing, referral payments, and all other services. So, with the headline figures the way they are and the business model being pretty straightforward, it sounds like a money machine. But why then are the owners of this money machine looking for a buyer? Early this year, it was reported that OnlyFans was in talks to sell around 60% of its business to Architect Capital, pegging the company at an equity valuation of around $3.5 billion. Now, if you compare that to the most recently reported net revenue of around $1.41 billion, that would be about 2.5x net revenue on an equity basis, a very modest multiple for something this profitable. Reporting from Reuters described the same setup, but gave a bit more detail on the capital structure. About $5.5 billion including debt, with $3.5 billion excluding debt. So, valuation does depend on which figure you're looking at. But even with the $5.5 billion figure, you're still only at just under 4x net revenue. So, why the modest valuation? Well, when you see figures like that, it's usually a sign buyers are taking into account a lot of risk. And that slightly skeptical valuation gets even more interesting if you look at older reporting. In May 2025, Reuters reported earlier talks at a valuation of around $8 billion. So, clearly, the OnlyFans business is shifting, and it's likely no coincidence that they're looking to sell a slice. Now, for OnlyFans, the real constraints aren't servers or demand as they are for many other online businesses. Their legitimacy and access to money movement, on the other hand, those can change fast. This is a platform that can print cash, but still finds itself fragile in certain areas. And behavior from OnlyFans owner Leonid Radvinsky communicates this pretty clearly, having paid himself dividends of over $700 million in 2024. Now, that's not usually what you do if you think the only risk is a bit of increased competition from other businesses. It's the kind of thing you do if you want to secure the bag, so to speak. But why might they want to do that? Well, beyond enjoying all the things a massive pile of money can bring, the owners may be looking to cash in because the tail risks to the OnlyFans business model are unavoidable. In a nutshell, OnlyFans relies on banks, card networks, and a small set of payment partners that can each decide on a whim whether your category is worth the risk. Let's consider how payments flow through the platform. A fan pays by card, the issuing bank approves, the card network routes it, an acquiring bank accepts it, and settlement lands in accounts that OnlyFans controls. Then the platform pays out creators, which means a high volume of small transactions and a ton of cross-border flows. And that's all while the platform has to deal with fraud, disputes, and other compliance issues so that banking partners don't grow worried. Now, for the adult entertainment industry, this has been an issue for some time. In 2020, Visa and MasterCard stopped processing payments for Pornhub after major scrutiny around illegal content. That's big finance cutting off the business entirely, forcing it to change. It's also worth considering why adult platforms get treated as high risk in the first place. Sure, the bank gets some of the platform's upside, but it also gets a lot of nasty downside risk too. That means elevated fraud and refund disputes, higher chargeback exposure, and, above all else, reputational and regulatory blowback if illegal exploitation slips through. So, this isn't just some straightforward PR stuff. MasterCard's published network rules clearly outline strict compliance expectations, including anti-money laundering and sanctions requirements, plus how non-compliance gets assessed. Visa is much the same way, and there's also a lot of pressure on banks as a result. In this dynamic, the bank is responsible for keeping merchants inside the lines. Now, if you think this is standard business compliance stuff, well, just take a look back to 2021. In August that year, OnlyFans announced that it would ban content showing sexually explicit conduct, and it clearly said the change was to satisfy banking partners and payment providers. That set off immediate creator backlash because, of course, explicit content was the core business, and not even a week later, OnlyFans reversed course. The platform said it had secured the needed assurances to keep supporting adult content. So, all's well that ends well, right? Well, fast forward to just last year and the scrutiny hasn't gone away. In 2025, a whistleblower complaint to FinCEN alleged that MasterCard and Visa failed to stop their networks from being used to process payments linked to child sex abuse and sex trafficking on OnlyFans. MasterCard and Visa disputed the allegations, and OnlyFans denied tolerating illegal content. But the insight here is that this pressure hits the payment infrastructure first and then ricochets into platform policy. OnlyFans relies very heavily on card payments to fuel its billion-dollar business. Any issue there, and it's over. As we've seen, major decisions impacting this multi-billion-dollar business can be made overnight. But keeping up with all of these market gyrations can be tough unless you've signed up for the free Coinbureau Finance newsletter. That's where we break down the key moves across businesses, markets, politics, and more, so you stay informed on what matters. We also have exclusive deals for Coinbureau Finance viewers, discounts, bonuses, and promotions put together exclusively for viewers of this channel. All you have to do is click the link in the description or scan this QR code. And now, back to the video. Okay, let's pivot for a moment from the platform side of things to the creators that actually make all of the site's content. The scale on the creator side is frankly insane. In the latest published numbers, that's for 2024, creator accounts rose 13% to about 4.6 million. Fan accounts climbed to roughly 377 million, and subscriber spending hit $7.2 billion for the year. That resulted in about $5.8 billion paid out to creators under the platform's 80-20 split. Now, you may have noticed something a bit odd there, so let's dig into those numbers a bit. If you just divide that $5.8 billion by 4.6 million creators, you get roughly $1,260 per creator per year. That number isn't a precise average paycheck, of course. No, it's a flashing warning signal that this is a winner-take-most market where a tiny cohort of creators harvests a huge share of the money and a very large crowd is fighting for leftovers. Now, of course, that kind of concentration isn't unique to OnlyFans. It's a defining feature of the broader creator economy. Last year, one report from Creator IQ found the top creators are capturing an increasing share of payouts, while median outcomes lagged hard. Now, OnlyFans doesn't publish a percentile split of its creators, but independent analysis from OnlyGuider estimates the top 0.1% of creators capture about 76% of revenue share. Sounds lucrative for the top earners, so what is the actual job description for an OnlyFans creator? And no, keep your mind out of the gutter. Well, the idea is to build and run a subscription business where your product is access. That means constant traffic generation off-platform while focusing on increasing retention on-platform, and a sales system that resembles customer support with some flirting attached. There's no algorithm that reliably hands you customers. In academic work analyzing the platform, yes, it does exist, researchers show how creators end up leaning heavily on third-party social networks to promote themselves and interact with followers. So, that sounds like a lot of work for one person to handle, and well, that's why we have the rise of OnlyFans agencies. If accounts manage to scale, then creators hit a hard ceiling. They can't film, edit, post, market, upsell, and message hundreds of people all day without either burning out or building a team. Agencies, however, can run the whole operation, as they can manage the account, promote it on social media, organize custom content sales, and even hire so-called chatters who handle paid-for private messages while posing as the creator. Some creators have told reporters that they barely log in at all. They send content to the agency and let the machine do its thing. Crazy. And that whole agency layer turns OnlyFans into something bigger than just a platform. It becomes an entire labor market ecosystem. Those networks of outsourced chat workers are a particularly bizarre feature. Typically outsourced to emerging market countries like the Philippines, these chatters even have sales quotas, except the job is to sell intimacy. But even if a creator never hires an agency, the market itself can still get tough, and many creators argue that it is. Some have talked to reporters about market saturation, relentless content demands, and the mental strain of having your income tied to staying on for subscribers every single day. The average annual pay of a little over $1,000 is proof enough that it's not as easy as some may think. OnlyFans sells creators the idea of independence. The reality, however, is learning the same lesson that every small business learns. It's very difficult to succeed, and it's very time-consuming too. Okay, now that's the supply side, so to speak, but what about the demand side? As we briefly mentioned earlier, OnlyFans consumers are paying for more than just content. They're paying for access and attention on demand. They're paying for something that feels more direct and private, instead of something mass-produced and tossed into a feed with some ads sprinkled on top. So, the standard subscription model is only half the story. Over recent years, OnlyFans CEO Keely Blair has said that payments on the platform have been shifting from a traditional subscription-first model and towards microtransactions. These are the one-off purchases that happen inside the relationship once someone is already through the door. Economically, that shift is a big deal because these microtransactions essentially act as a form of price discrimination hardwired into the product. A subscription gets you into the room. After that, the platform lets creators charge different customers different amounts for different levels of access, without needing complicated tiers or bundling. You can be a customer that spends a fixed $10 per month, or you can be a $10 a month plus another $200 this weekend type of fella. So, different customers represent completely different revenue profiles for creators. And don't let the micro in microtransactions fool you. These can still get expensive for customers, whether each transaction carries a considerable price or the small charges quickly add up. Creators can paywall their entire profile with monthly prices, as is familiar in the modern-day subscription economy. Then they can layer on paid posts, messages, and other one-off unlocks that can run up to triple digits depending on settings and limits. And for many creators, this appears to be the major monetization avenue. In October 2025, Blair said OnlyFans had paid out $25 billion to creators since 2016. That kind of cumulative payout is only possible if a massive base of customers keeps choosing to pay for something they could, technically, get elsewhere for free. So, this all begs the question, where are all these customers coming from? Now, we don't get a neat public breakdown of fan spending by country, but web traffic gives a decent proxy for where attention is concentrated. SEMrush's January 2026 snapshot put OnlyFans.com at around 400 million visits for the month, with the United States at around 40% of visits, followed by the UK, Mexico, Germany, and Brazil. Notably, more than half the traffic was shown to be direct visits, which is consistent with what a habit looks like on the internet. So, that's the demand base you're dealing with. A platform that's not a random website people stumble across, but a destination people go back to. Now, this is in part due to some constraints that OnlyFans faces. They can't launch mobile apps on leading app stores due to the nature of most of the content, for instance. But the huge dollar numbers and loyal customer base OnlyFans sees are where the platform starts to become useful as an economic indicator. Of course, we're not talking about a precise macro gauge. The best internal metrics are private, and public proxies like web traffic don't tell you whether people are spending more or just browsing. But OnlyFans does sit right at the intersection of two things that move with the economy: discretionary spending and personal financial pressure. If consumers start tightening up, platforms living on recurring payments and add-on purchases should feel it. One 2025 survey from Deloitte found people aren't increasing what they spend on subscriptions, and many report fatigue managing multiple subscriptions alongside rising prices. Another survey from Boston Consulting Group found that consumers expect to spend more from inflation, not desire. So, many people are planning cutbacks on all manner of consumer goods and services. According to that survey, confidence has turned significantly negative in developed markets since June 2025. So, while OnlyFans figures have been on the rise, at least until the last reported numbers for 2024, if we begin to see revenue dropping, it's a signal that the average Joe is struggling. In the K-shaped economy we're now faced with, higher income households can keep spending, while everyone else has been getting squeezed by essentials like rent and food. And many would argue that squeeze is visible in the explosive rise of women using OnlyFans as a side hustle. This even includes students who've explicitly said they're using it to cover tuition and basic living costs. At the risk of sounding judgmental, that's not exactly a pretty picture of the economy. But while people use OnlyFans stats as a proxy measure of the economy's poor health, the OnlyFans economic model itself faces some potential issues. What's the biggest threat? Well, everyone's favorite thing right now. That's right, AI. AI is the first technology that can mass-produce the OnlyFans-type creator and that can disrupt the OnlyFans economy. And that story begins with theft. If someone can scrape a creator's photos, swap a face, clone their voice, and generate new clips through AI tech, you get counterfeit supply that competes with the real account. And because deepfakes spread fastest off-platform, the damage can happen before a creator even notices. That's creepy enough as it is, and it's a serious violation of the creator's personal autonomy. But the structural threat from AI isn't just impersonations or rip-offs, it's original content. Over the last year, AI-generated influencers have become conversion tools. Yes, synthetic models running Instagram accounts that pull people into paid adult subscription sites. The so-called AI pimping scene describes an ecosystem of accounts mixing fully AI images with deep-faked videos, then monetizing through subscription links. And once the paying customer lands on the subscription page, they're often buying more AI content, not a human creator at all. And that's where things get really weird. A synthetic OnlyFans type model doesn't burn out and can be scaled like software. FanView, an adults-only subscription platform that leans into AI, has stated that AI creators have accounted for up to 15% of its revenues during certain months. They also highlighted an AI persona that generated about $23,000 in a single month after a rapid ramp. And if the creator is synthetic, the operator can be anyone, including some random dude running prompts and DMs. The product becomes a character, and the work becomes conversion and retention that is entirely detached from any real person whatsoever. And AI isn't only an outside threat. It's already being used inside the creator economy to scale the private communication part of the job that we mentioned earlier. Some models and agencies are using AI to keep up with DMs, replacing or supplementing the humans who used to do that work. For human creators, all of this results in a new kind of competition, accounts that can flood the market with infinite custom content, priced aggressively and constantly optimized. Of course, one obvious response is to sell proof of reality, whether that's something like a live interaction or verified identity, but that increases workload and raises the bar for everyone. OnlyFans as a platform can't ignore this either, and not just because they may lose revenue to other platforms that embrace and leverage unscrupulous AI content creators. This all comes with increased legal and operational cost. The US Take It Down Act pushes hard for fast removal expectations for non-consensual intimate imagery, including AI fakes. This may also explain why OnlyFans has been trying to adjust its image, even if just slightly. If you listen to their executives, OnlyFans wishes to be seen as a creator platform, not just an adult content site. CEO Keely Blair has argued it can be a major player in the broader creator economy, pitching safety and monetization across categories. Maybe. But the brand association is sticky, to say the least, and the same bank and card network constraints apply. Even if OnlyFans wants to onboard a more diverse range of creators, a lot of creators with mainstream sponsors may decide the reputational risk just isn't worth it. So, although OnlyFans owners might be ready to sell, negotiations around valuation may prove to be tough. All right, folks, and that's about all we have time for today, but what do you think? Will OnlyFans keep putting up huge numbers? Does AI actually pose a threat, or is that just speculation going wild? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And since we're looking at subscription businesses, if you want to learn how the whole world is being reshaped by a subscription-based economy, then you should check out this video over here. That's all from me for today, though, so as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Guy, signing off.